So, good evening, everyone. I want to just come in today and talk about something that God showed me a few nights ago, Wednesday night. Um, God showed me the importance of prayer. Something that during these times that we're in now, the church is really going to need. Is really going to need it. And so Wednesday night, after I went to sleep, a few hours later, God woke me up and told me to start writing. And everything I wrote was on prayer that He gave me. And so one of the things that he brought up was 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 17. And that speaks on praying without cease. It says pray without ceasing. And so, I know a lot of people say, well, my wife says, well, you should just pray on it and just leave it alone. And whatever works, for certain people, that's what they should follow. But for me, God says, pray without cease. And so He showed me 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 17. And He talked about how the satanic attacks, the spiritual attacks on the church have really thrown the church off track. The church is under such demonic attacks that a lot of people don't understand right from wrong. And so he talked about that, and I sat there and I wrote. And I thought about an example when you're fighting against your enemy. When you're fighting against an enemy, especially when you think about war, because we're talking about warfare, right? So when you think about war and you in the military, you're issued a machine gun, right? And so you're running, you're fighting against this enemy. You don't just shoot one time and that's it. Or you don't just shoot one time and then you wait and you shoot one time and then you wait and you shoot one time. That machine gun is designed for you to shoot in rapid succession, right? And it comes with a clip, right? So basically, you hear people say, unload the clip on your enemy, which is what we should do with prayer. We should we should focus on unloading the clip on our enemy. Okay. There should be a constant communication with God. There should be constant prayer with God. That your prayer, and this is one thing God said to me, your prayer should bring about a lifestyle change. Okay. So when you pray, people should be able to see it in your life, in how you live, because true prayer with true belief will bring on a lifestyle change. It would bring favor on you. Okay. But what we do is we allow the enemy to attack us and we don't do anything about it. We should be praying before, during, and after a trial. We should be praying at all times. This prayer may just prevent you from going into a trial that was designed for you to go into. It may help you to make it through that trial, or it may bring victory after the trial, okay? Pray without cease. And then the other thing is understanding who your enemy is when you are praying. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12 tells us that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against dark spirits in high places. So when you pray, we get caught up into praying against someone who is causing us harm, against someone who is evil. We get caught up into praying on the physical, on the things that we can see. We get caught up into praying on the things that we see. But we forget that we should be praying against the evil one, the spirits, the principalities that are behind that person. Okay? We should be praying against evil spirits. I love what David said. Lord, let not my enemies rejoice over me. Are your enemies rejoicing over you? Or are you using prayer to change the outcome that the enemy would have over you? Are you using prayer to fend off slander, being backstabbed, loss of finances, the peace that has been taken from your home? Are you using prayer to change that? Because God would turn that thing around and put it in your favor just based off of prayer. So I sat there and I wrote everything that God told me to write about prayer. And after I got through, I went back to sleep. And God showed me a dream while I was asleep. And guess what it was based on? It was based on prayer. So I was standing on this hill with a group of people. And then some more people walked up. And they pointed down to the bottom of the hill. They said, the land is evil down there. And so I walked down to the bottom of the hill, looking for the place that they were talking about. And as I walked, they were giving me directions like, go further, go further. And I come to a place where it looked like there was something wrong with the ground. And there was this fork, there was this indention in the ground. And I pointed it and I said, is this it? And they screamed out, yes, that part of the land is evil. Okay. And so God had me in this dream to stand on that indention, that fork that was in the land. And he had me to begin to pray out loud. And so I began to pray out loud for God to heal the land. And that's where the dream ended. So God is showing right there that there's much prayer needed to go against this evil. Sometimes in order to get things done, you have to pray in the enemy's territory. In other words, wherever those attacks are taking place in your life, that's where you pray. You pray there. If it's on your job, you find a place on your job to pray. And you not only pray against the people, you pray against those spirits that are driving the people, that are causing you trouble. Wherever these attacks are occurring, we should be praying there. And we should be calling on the Lord to move on our behalf. to heal the land. Wherever we are at, wherever we're having problems at, we should be calling on the Lord to heal that place. One of the things I love that God brought to my attention today was James, where James, I believe, James talks about the prayers of a righteous man, the fervent prayers of a righteous man availeth much. So when we talk about praying to God, praying over situations, we're not talking about no nap prayers, no little small prayers then you run on. We're talking about fervent prayers. We're talking about, when you look up the word fervent, it says intensity. We have to pray at all times, like 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 says, without ceasing. And when we pray, there should be a fervent intensity to the prayer. There should be a fervent prayer. And this prayer, when you pray, you should believe in what you're praying for. You should believe that God is going to do it for you. You don't have to have a big belief, just the faith of a mustard seed. Little bitty thing. But that little mustard seed, when it grows into a humongous tree. See, a small, fervent prayer can make big things happen. When you look at 1 Peter 1, 6 and 7, I preached on that a few weeks ago. And it talks about wherein ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season. Things happen in seasons. If need be, ye are in heaviness through manifold temptations. So there's a burden that we go through. There's a burden that is a part of life that we go through. When we go through these trials and tribulations, there's a heaviness that comes from these temptations that we have to deal with. Whether it be dealing with money, or whether it be dealing with family or your job. The everyday rigors of life. There's a heaviness that comes with going through trials. It says that the trial of your faith, being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ. So Jesus is getting ready to return, right? To get the bride. And what this is saying, that, when you think about gold and how gold, they put fire to it to purify and make it 100% gold. That fire removes the foreign substances from the gold. And so that's what this is talking about, that these trials that we go through are designed to remove some things from us that we don't need. There's some things in our life that we just don't need in our life. There's some things that we're dealing with that we don't need. These trials are designed to remove that. And you have to stay on your knees at all times. You have to constantly talk to God about the things that you are going through, the things that are affecting your life that you need his help with. Let's face it, we all need God's help. It's not a day that goes by that I don't ask my Father for help. Not a day that goes by. I'm constantly calling out to my Father in heaven. Every day. Because these things that life brings upon us, you can't deal with them by yourself. You're not designed to deal with them by yourself. God tells us that he is here to take on our burdens. I don't want to take on these burdens by myself. I need help. I need my Father to help me. I need him to have mercy on me, and I need him to help me through it and bless me with his mercy and his favor. And I need goodness and mercy to follow me all the days of my life. Think about this for a minute when you're going through trials, and then we're in. Think about King Sennacherib from Assyria when he came to Jerusalem to take over that land. He wanted to take over God's land. And he boasted about how all the other gods that he came up against failed. And after he threatened Jerusalem, then he turned around and he sent a note to Hezekiah. All right. It says that he sent a note to him. And he took that letter, that note, and he took it to the altar. And he took that note and those notes from Sennacherib, and the Bible says that he spread the letters out on the altar and got on his knees and prayed prostrate. So you think about this. The devil has sent Sennacherib to threaten Israel and to take over Jerusalem, all right? And he has sent this letter to the king. And the king takes this letter and he spreads it out on the altar. And he lays prostrate and he prays over it. And God interceded. And Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, came and told him, it's taken care of. God is going to deal with this man. And one day, Sennacherib was praying to his God, and two of his sons came in and slew him, drew the sword and slew him. He was killed by his own sons because he was evil. He walked in darkness. In Israel, nothing ever came to pass on Jerusalem at that time under that king because he trusted God. He prayed to God. We have to pray like our lives depend on it. We have to pray like we're on fire. During this time, things are about to get really bad because I had another dream about a storm coming and a lot of people getting hurt. Things are about to get really bad. We have to pray like we've never prayed before. There's nothing like true men and women of God on their knees praying fervently to God. We got to pray. I'm telling you, we got to pray now, and it has got to be deep. We got to hit hard. Okay? This is the message today. This is what God wanted me to tell you. God bless you and God keep you.